Hello, and welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's everybody's favorite sad dads, Jim and Foo.
Like when we looked at, I wish I had that article in front of me.
Yeah.
That like resonated with me relative to like knowledge of podcast and how widespread it was.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. I probably spend most of my podcast time relative to what the survey said in YouTube. I don't really audio. If I'm listening to audio stuff, it's an audio book.
Yeah.
Because
you're a nerd.
Yeah. I feel educated.
Sorry. You're a bald nerd.
A bald ass nerd.
With
Whatever.
Fucked up
fatty.
teeth.
Fuck.
You fucking mole eyes. Bald.
God damn.
Fucking...
We shouldn't have got a bunch of Subway sandwiches and fucking. I don't know. Pudding? What I don't know.
Is that pudding in your fucking coat, Jim?
Did you bring more pudding and Hot Pockets? We're trying to record a show, not put on weight. Wow, what the fuck?
I'm watching you and you're just getting fatter.
God,
we
wouldn't have such a problem with lighting if you had hair, Foo.
And you weren't half as much as big as you are.
God damn.
How many lights I gotta buy for you?
Jesus. We wouldn't have to light me so bad if you didn't cast such a shadow. Yeah, we wouldn't have to have black curtains if your bald ass head didn't create such a glare. Wow. Damn. Anyway, welcome to the show, Sad Dads Club podcast.
Welcome to the show.
He's Jim.
I'm fat guy Jim, and we got bald ass Foo.
Bald ass Foo. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, if you happen to be listening to us,
if this is your first show,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, here we go. Hopefully you'll stay with us for whatever portion of your 6 hours average user listens to podcasts a week.
Yeah.
And we appreciate
that
we made a chunk of it.
I mean, the podcast is like just the new radio, basically. I think it's one of those things where you get kind of a narrow down, depending on what you're listening to, you get to narrow down what you're listening to.
Yeah.
You get to pick and choose that content rather than having to listen to some Rush Limbaugh or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that want to listen to that, but
the article that I had pulled that from actually was it was talking about how big businesses and big media conglomerates were looking at podcasts.
Yeah.
And there's like a reckoning, like a big reckoning coming relative to like almost monopoly pushing outs. And one of the things that they were talking about as an example was how Spotify was starting to sign big name podcast personalities and then locking them into Spotify as the only repository. The big example
they want to force people to Spotify.
Right, was Joe Rogan. Right. So he was everywhere, and that's how we are, right? Your little podcasters generally hit every repository.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is, as studios start to recognize and media conglomerates start to recognize how prolific and money generating there's ad revenue in some of these personalities that are doing podcasts now, and not radio, that they're signing contracts and getting these people locked into not distributing their podcast to all of the repositories
for exclusivity.
Right, they're locking them in, and they're starting to see that there's millions of dollars to be made in sponsorships, in ad revenue, just like movies and streaming and YouTube and content creation, television. The podcast genre is is due to start having some of these like contractual obligation, like you're only going to find, Netflix shows and House of Cards and things like that, where you're not going to catch some shows on.
Well, even on the
anywhere.
On the production side, you have like I listened to a podcast called Dr. Death. It was a really well done podcast. If you're interested in podcasts and you like sort of real life kind of things, Dr. Death was a really good one. But Dr. Death is produced by, they're sort of like a puppy mill of podcasts because it's called Wondery.
Okay.
And they produce, I don't even know how many different podcasts, but they were the producers of Dr. Death, for instance.
Okay.
So even on the production side, you have companies that are sort of, like creating their own podcast empire, not on the distribution side, but on the creation side.
Right.
Where they're putting together people to do XYZ podcasts, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that, I mean, I don't think a show like ours would be a Wondery type thing.
Yeah.
But we're not produced enough probably for that. But yeah, they're like highly produced, very well done, like interviews, and they're spending a lot of time on stuff with music and their own, and they have a narrator and that kind of stuff.
It's very easy, and that was part of the article too, was like how the ease of use into getting into it. Like there's so many forms of break-in methods. You could be as simple as laptop.
Oh yeah.
Laptop mic and onboard stuff.
Yeah.
To the full produced guys, and somewhere in between, lower end like we are, but it's all self-funded kind of thing.
Well, I look at it like pirate radio. Like
kinda, yeah,
back in the day,
absolutely.
It was like pirate radio was somebody who was broadcasting out on an FCC channel that they weren't paying for.
Like ham stuff, or like the BBSs.
Yeah.
Only
now
when we were growing up,
you can just pay a little bit of money and be producing a show and get it out there. It's kind of fascinating.
Right.
Actually.
And you could do all of this onto YouTube without paying anything.
Yeah.
I mean, your equipment, obviously, but YouTube doesn't cost anything. If you were really good at getting your message out, you could push people to YouTube, I guess, without having to be on repositories and paying.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be kind of weird. We have a podcast, but it's only on YouTube.
Right. We're exclusive to YouTube. Really? Well, yeah, because that's the only place we put it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the negative of that would be that everybody could see how much your show would actually be seen.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you've got something to sell, then...
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's relative.
Yeah. I mean, so that kind of segues into... like I've said many times in shows before, I probably even said it last week, I watch our stats. Our stats are doing really well. We are having our biggest month right now. It's impressive. Yeah. I'm so happy that people are listening, and thank you very much. Let's just say that again.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, interesting stuff.
I just got off Pager.
Oh, Pager. Brutal.
And this one was like difficult because in taking turns sleeping on the couch for Armageddon.
Oh.
It's like every other night the sleep is light, and then when I've got like the mental anxiety of whether or not I'm going to get paged at some point in time.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like I've been on conference calls Monday, Tuesday, and my voice is still like, like.
So when you're in a conference call, are you participating a lot? Like you're talking a lot?
The last couple, because it was, when I'm getting paged, it's my input.
Is that what the conference calls were regarding your pager?
The last couple ones, yeah. And then on, I think Monday, I had a really big one.
That's what she said?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the wife says, and she's a happy one. She's still here, 19 years.
She's just going to keep paging you.
#HiWife. It was one where they were looking for answers, and it was they had paged the right guy, but they had come at me sideways with like, it's this because this.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like a lower environment thing. It was production, so it was like right now we need night now, And I'm like, well, okay, wait, why?
Yeah.
And the amount of speaking it required me to like undo the knot to then correctly inform them that in fact it was not our wheelhouse. It was.
Was it like a situation where you're like, well, here's a little history lesson?
No, well, sort of, yeah, because they thought it was patching, because patching happens, and I said, well, okay, well, when was the outage? And they said, oh, this morning, Monday.
No patching.
And I said, okay, well, your patching is scheduled to occur in this environment on Saturday. And they're like, yeah, something happened with patching, and it delayed the reboot until this morning. We would like to know why. And I went, okay, so there are some special circumstances here. One, there was another thing that happened on Saturday, a part of a migration thing, so your boxes weren't getting actually patched Saturday. They were doing this other thing. And as you can tell by these logs right here, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But in order to feed them the shit sandwich with loving care, I had to like walk back a whole bunch of other things, like, but just in case, let me dot some I's and cross the T's for you to make sure that we can, clearly sign off that patching was not a box we needed to be going down.
Right.
That conversation had to keep getting repeated every time some other application
guy
tool bag. Hi, this is Bob from blah blah application. What's the status? It's like some moderators like, we're here because of patching.
Oh my gosh.
Probably it's the root cause probably caused the outage this morning, and then I have to go. Hi, this is Jason from Unix administration and engineering. No.
Again, let me reiterate.
Yeah, no.
That's not a possibility.
Anyone here that's going to call in, drop off, call back in?
That's when you record yourself talking, and then
still not patching.
You go rewind it, and then you play it back.
Hi, could you please
for every new guy?
We have a recorded message. Could you please hold, please? Boop. Hi, this is Jason from Unix. I'd just like to let you know the patching.
Nice.
Anyway, yes, I can't remember what it was. What was it? It was I'm drawing a blank, but it wasn't patching.
I mean, that's all right.
The VMware controller crashed. It was a physical. There were virtual boxes, and the vCenter that they were on actually crashed.
Oh,
so yeah,
not me.
Yeah, it wasn't us. I'm like, well, how many of these boxes were booted? And they're like 3. And I went, all at the same time? Yeah. I'm like,
well,
okay. Well,
something.
Let's get the VMware guys on.
Something else was in the way.
Yeah.
They all did it at the same exact time.
Like, the automation scripts are pretty robust, but they're not that like ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
Like,
because you're going to be doing a whole bunch of other shit.
That's a crash. I said, I can verify that no one was actually on the machine and then issued a reboot at the command line or something like that.
Yeah.
So, let's call the VMware.
Even if the script kiddie did it.
Right. They're usually not that good. Anyway.
Interesting.
So, in being off of a long story to get to, I've been gassed.
Yeah.
So I
could tell you were pretty quiet this week.
I got to, I ate lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And about 2:00, I hit like that, like the eyes were 25-pound weights attached to the eyelids, and I'm like, I can't. And I was working a thing too, and I'm like, I am going to pass out in this chair. I laid down at like 3 and took like an hour-long nap.
Yeah.
And I didn't get like a nap, like fall asleep. It was like one of those. I don't know how often what your naps are like, but it was like I could hear things. It was like more like a deep meditation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like my eyes were closed, but I heard Venus and Piper left to go pick up her pictures, and Xander's coming home and doing homework and coming up and down the hallway, and the dog's coming in and out of the bed and laying down. Like I heard all of it, but I got like a kind of like a shutdown for a bit to like catch up a tiny bit. But God, it's getting harder and harder to pull long.
The older you get.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is getting rough.
I don't miss the pager days. I mean, before I worked at AJA, I worked for a hosting company, and I was desktop support, so I would manage all the systems in the house. But because I was part of the IT group, I was pager guy also.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't manage any of those servers like in a normal working day.
Yeah.
So when the pager went off and it was some nasty bullshit that I didn't know what it was, that was scary for me because that wasn't like my normal working you know what I mean?
The mental
so now, just because I'm getting paged, now somebody else is also part of the pager because,
right.
I mean, I knew a little bit here and there, and normally if I could just reboot a box and if the error went away, then perfect. But that didn't always work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would end up having to be getting a hold of somebody else.
Yeah.
And interrupting them. It's like, well, that sucks for them because they are actually on pager doing pager shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm on pager and I have no idea what's happening between all these servers. So I am contacting another guy in IT now to help.
Right. There's a lot of that now. Like,
yeah,
the talent pool starts to whittle down.
Yeah.
So as you not having pager, did you do anything that I can vicariously be entertained with over the weekend?
I mean, no.
Fuck, man.
Well, it was my wife's birthday last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And one of the things I gave her
for happy birthday, Shan.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I gave her for her birthday was
oh yeah.
That's right.
Ow.
I gave her a leather steering wheel cover.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, a leather.
You should have just stopped at leather.
I should give her a leather?
Yeah.
No, a steering wheel cover. And I have never installed one of these before. It doesn't
with
look
like the leather wrap tie on?
Well, like specifically, she has a Honda CR-V. It's not like a fancy car, right? But she loves this car. And the steering wheel has a wear in it from hand sweat or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just looks crusty. And I looked at replacing the wheel itself.
Right.
But that's like $200+ to just get a new steering wheel and replace it.
Yeah.
And that's if you can find, and you know, if you can find a new one, they're going to be really expensive. If you can find a used one, are they crusty?
Right.
And so I just sort of gave up on that idea because they seemed like they were out of the ballpark of what I wanted to spend.
Right.
And so I did a little digging around, and I thought, well, why don't I see if I can find a leather cover for it, and I'll just stitch it on myself.
Right.
So I found one on Amazon where they actually make one for a CR-V steering wheel specifically.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, cool. And they give you choices on color and that kind of thing. So I ordered it, and she seemed excited. So I spent like 2 nights
stitching the thing on,
putting it on the car. It was not easy.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. Part of it is, I think, I mean, if you're going to do it 100% the right way, you're going to take the wheel out, and you're going to take the wheel apart, and then stitch it onto the thing, and then put all the pieces back together and put it back in the car.
Oh, okay.
But they made it look like it was pretty easy to do.
Step 1, place leather wrap on wheel.
Yeah.
Step 2, stitch. Step 3, you're done.
Well, no, step 2 was one more step than that. So step 1 is to put it on the wheel, get it adjusted in the right place.
Right.
And the next step is to tuck parts of the leather cover under some of the plastics.
Oh, okay.
So that it,
right.
You know, and then stitch it. Well, the tucking of the leather into the plastics, you have a fairly hard rubber steering wheel with plastic right on it. That doesn't get nothing.
Minimal
gives.
Tolerances.
Yeah. The tolerances are super tight, and so there's not a lot of give in parts. And I was kind of being careful because I was kind of like,
you don't want to pop plastic off or chip plastic.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin the wheel.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
So it ended up being a combo of like learning how to stitch it properly, and then fucking up a couple times because, I didn't cut the string long enough. I mean, I thought 3.5 times what the length of what I'm stitching would be long enough.
Right.
And then you end up like.
So you had an ample length then to work
They gave you plenty of string.
Okay.
The kit was really nice for not very much money. It was like less than $50 for a kit. It came with the wheel or the leather wrap, which was cut to fit that wheel. It came with double-sided tape if you wanted to use it. It was optional. So you could put inside and stick it so it wouldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
And it came with all the thread and like a pair of scissors and instructions. It was a pretty nice little kit.
Mm-hmm.
And a plastic tool for tucking it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is going to be easy. It took me 2 nights.
Wow.
At one point, Monday, she was like,
I need my car, asshole.
Well, I worked on it Sunday night, and I got like maybe 1 spoke of the 3 done, one of the short ones. And I was like, are you okay driving your car with the floppy wheel cover on it to work tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, that's fine.
Your birthday gift is cramping my style.
I mean, she knows.
Husband.
Yeah. I mean, she knows how long I was out there working on it.
Right.
And it just took way more time. I was trying to be careful. I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to look nice.
Right.
I was trying to go for something that looked like it was going to be a factory kind of a thing. And it turned out that way. But getting there was really hard. And it's not perfect. It was definitely my first time I'd ever done it. But it looks good.
You ordered something for the Cadillac, didn't you?
No, actually, I ordered
came?
something for the Civic that never came.
Oh, that's right.
I ended up just replacing that steering wheel.
That's right. That's what it was.
For about the same amount of money.
And then you'd have to deal, if you got a whole new wheel, you'd be dealing with the airbag. No one wants to deal with that.
That's actually not terrible because I had to replace, I would have had to have taken the wheel off to do what I was looking to do on the Civic anyway.
Yeah.
It turns out that the Civic steering wheel cover that they made for me didn't work because they didn't send it. They just looked at the photo I sent and went, we don't have a cover that'll fit that.
Oh.
And then they ended up canceling my order. So that happened.
Right.
And then, so then I was like, well, I don't want to, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I want it to look good. I don't want some shitty thing on there.
Right.
So I ended up just finding on eBay a Civic steering wheel and replaced it.
I see some of these high-end premium cars with like Alcantara like steering wheels, and that's like a suede, right? It's like
I think it's a man-made suede kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm like, why would you want that?
It seems like your hands would sweat on it really bad.
Just absorb your hand pump. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not. It's not like I'm putting hot mops on my steering wheel.
Yeah.
But if it's hot outside, and you can't not. I mean, look at your phone screen.
Yeah.
Your hands, even though they feel dry,
they're they have some amount of grease.
They're always greasy.
Seems like that Alcantara would get matted or really dirty really fast.
I'm like, fuck.
And how do you clean it? Like a leather steering wheel,
like
you
a
can
stone. I think you clean it with like a stone. Like you clean suede with like it's like an abrasive stone.
I guess I don't have enough suede things.
I've picked up that from
other than my underwear.
Shoe shine videos.
Really?
People will come in with like suede.
Is it a pumice stone?
Kinda. Not as gritty, granular as pumice, but
similar.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. She was happy with it. I put it on. It looks good. It matches the car other than the fact that nothing else in the car is leather. But it has a nice premium feel to it. I mean, it was the first one I'd ever done, so it was like I kind of feel like I did it to the best of my current ability.
Right.
And maybe if I'd done it again or if I was doing another car, I'd be a little bit better at it.
If you need me to ruin Data's steering wheel so that you need an excuse to do another one,
no.
I can do that.
Let me just say it this way.
Sorry, Data. Sorry, Data.
It was a very challenging project. And if I don't have to do it again, I wouldn't. And if I did do it again, the wheel would probably come off. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That would probably be the only way.
You would. It's in the back of your mind as a challenge.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did it.
But
because
you're not looking for another reason to do one.
Bingo.
But if the opportunity arose,
presented itself,
you would nail that shit.
If it was one of my vehicles and not someone else's, possibly. I mean, it came out good. It really did. Yeah. I mean, it came out as good, I think, as the cover allowed for and all the parts on the wheel allowed for.
But you've got lessons learned, and you would build upon that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what was I telling a friend of mine?
That's the good outlook to maintain for all things.
Yeah. Well, I was telling somebody, like I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I get my hands wet or my toe wet in all kinds of different things, but I don't do any of those things like for a living or enough to like really get good at them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So like when I'll give you an example. When I did baseboards in the entire house, like, I don't know, I'd never used a chop saw when I started that project.
Yeah.
So cutting baseboards and going around a bullnose corner is a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
So I had to figure out on my own how to piece the
angles.
Yeah, how to do all the angles correctly so that would fit around the corners right. Well, and then so the first one or two were like difficult, but then after that you sort of okay, and you sort of figure it out. So it's like the 90 degrees that were inside were super. Just measure to here and cut.
Right.
And not that I didn't ever make mistakes because, oops, I cut it too short or whatever. But those were super easy. 45 and 45. You knew that as long as the angles measured out came up to 90. Yeah. Then you were going to be all right. So then you start dividing them up, and that's how I figured it out.
So here, yes, and I'll say that if you've ever watched Mike bend the conduit for like Romex or something, or for when he's running lines,
the metal conduit,
the bending of the galvanized pipe,
that's
the math that he already has pre-baked in his head, like to know if you want your bends to occur here and here, you're coming out this amount of inches, it's on the fucking bender, all you have to do. But if you want to do the math, it's like here, set your marks here, you're coming out here, that's where you bend it back, dink, done.
Yeah. You'd be ruining a lot of pipe to figure that stuff out.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you know the math, the math is the rule.
Right.
And if you, once you have that down, it becomes hard to not unsee it. When he is explained to like showing some probies who I'm sure like are trial and error. It's like, okay, so I want this bend here, and they go and they bend the pipe because they have a pipe bender. So they're going to bend a pipe and they're going to kind of like eyeball it, and then, oh shit, I bent it too far right there. And Mike's like, stop.
Right.
Look,
here's the method.
Measure it. Right there. You're coming down 2 to 5 or whatever the inches. Subtract from there. You put the little arrow right here. Bend. Done.
Yeah.
Like, use the math.
Yeah.
And you're never going to have to be like, fuck, I misbent a pipe.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so when I was doing that, working with the baseboards, when I'm going around the entire house, and you're like, doing it over a couple of days.
Yep.
You get pretty good at it as you run around, even though you've never done it. You just sort of figure it out and like, oh, okay, I just dealt with this over there, so here's how I'm going to tackle it.
Right.
But that was years ago when I did that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if I had to do it today, it would be starting all over. Like there's a little bit of knowledge that I have from that process and having that experience. I kind of know.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying some of that into it, but there would still be some like, I'm not, okay, I need to, how far, and I measured where, and I have to do what angles.
These angles do, Right.
So, there's some amount of finagling and figuring it out all over again.
Right.
So that's what I'm, master of none, because like I don't do any of the stuff for a living.
None of it's a talent.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, steering wheel lessons.
But the
a lot of
jumping
lessons
in
learned.
is. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, you have to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
I'll
give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt me.
It can't be that hard. It's just a leather cover on a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Well, it's fairly difficult.
They have I bought for cosplay stuff like a scrap set of like leathers, like mismatched leathers, and it came with a couple leather tools. There's a way to I can't remember the name of the what the action is called, but there's like a knife that you can shave and make leather thinner. That they often do either to stretch and condition the leather to make it pliable. That you could have thinned out some of it that would have tucked into the plastics.
Oh, it came like that.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, so some of the edging where it goes under the plastics actually was tapered.
Oh, okay.
And,
so, yeah.
Yeah, and they actually had instructions in there.
I don't know what it's called, but I know there's a tool. I'm a master of none, but a dabbler of some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's called either, but those tapered edges, they actually tell you to fold them backwards. You don't like start stuffing them or use the outside of the leather to stuff them, because then you'll stuff the leather. So you fold it backwards, and then you push on it from the suede side and push it down in, and then it sort of like slides over itself and then down into the groove. And that worked for the most part, but there were some places where you needed more leather underneath.
Right.
You know, everything. The tolerances are, I don't know, whatever. So it just was more, it was like some places needed more, some places you didn't have as much leather to get there. So it was like, oh shit, I don't even know. There was one part like, I don't even know how I'm going to get this tucked in there. You know, that it was difficult at best. What do you?
Oh, the mosquito flying. It's way over there.
Is he coming over from?
Now he is. Did you vote this weekend?
Oh, hell. Well, not this weekend. We voted last week.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch the 60 Minutes interview?
Yes.
We did with the kids. To, I guess, remotely touch back on that tail end of last week's show, talking politics and stuff with the kids.
Yeah.
We watched it with the kids just to see what they thought.
I don't think Chandler was there, but Melanie definitely was there for parts of it.
It was interesting I paused it at a number of, I don't have to say what I thought. I paused it at a number of places to specifically engage and ask the kids.
What do you think?
What do you think happened here?
Mm-hmm.
So you've heard this interviewer ask these set of questions and the responses, and then you heard this interview this way with these questions and these responses. What do you think was missing, or what do you think could have been done different, or what do you think about how that came out?
Mm-hmm.
I am encouraged by my children's future in what they think, and that they're already grasping, some concepts to be watching out for as far as what they want in leadership and civics.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really nice. Venus and I voted. I dropped ours off at an official ballot box this afternoon. I spent last night doing the bulk of my research on the local propositions, and I got a whole notebook, and I was here, and I was cross-checking with a number. It was frustrating. I think the 2016 and 2018 elections, I found more available resources from the newspapers, Los Angeles Times, the SACB, San Jose Mercury News. I found a lot more of those open and available to see what editorial pages thought of the propositions. This time, all of those were shut down, minus the San Jose Mercury News. I think the Times and the SACB were all closed down to paywalls.
Oh.
And I went, oh, well, that's unfortunate.
You must pay for this information.
Right. I found plenty of resources elsewhere, but to be perfectly blunt, the last couple of elections, those were go-to repositories for me to get perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut those out. I'm like, I was on a slight...
Well, because you feel like when you're getting that information from a news source, they're not. I mean, they shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any sway in them necessarily.
Right. I know they'll do endorsements.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because usually they do. We endorse this perspective. We endorse these candidates. But they'll always. Well, not always, most of the time, their breakdowns of the propositions and the candidates are still pretty unbiased and agnostic of party affiliation.
Right.
And then at the tail end of the perspective, they'll, we're voting this or we endorse this.
Yeah.
And that's fine one way or another. But when I can't look at that anymore because of a paywall, like, okay, well, I'll go elsewhere to find information.
Well, I mean, I feel like we just got a shit ton of stuff in the mail. I don't know about you guys.
We did, but I shit can most of that.
There was so much stuff that came in. We had multiple things from multiple candidates, like similar or the same flyer came to the house from, say, candidate B.
Right.
Multiple times.
I think they were saying that at Prop 22 specifically.
Yeah.
I think
there was a lot of that
had the most amount of money spent on a proposition to date in trying to get endorsements from either way. I'm like, fuck.
Well, it was one of the things that was just one of the local elections things we had here. I was out front mowing the yard, and I see a guy coming down the street with a couple women, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like anytime I see someone coming down the street, like kind of hitting.
To you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what are they selling me? Shop towels or I don't no idea.
I already have a church. It's the Church of Foo. You
but
can speak to my pastor.
Dude comes down the street, and he's not even like So my house has a T, and so right at the end of my driveway is a street.
Okay.
And he's coming down that street. He hasn't even gotten to the point to where he is getting ready to cross my street. He's still on that street.
He's jawing at you.
And he's like, you got to get to it before it gets warm, and I'm like, mowing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, you got to do it early, and then I think that he's done talking to me, so I'm just kind of doing my thing. Next thing I know, like, I turn around, and he's up in my driveway, and he's like, my name's so-and-so, and I'm running for this, and your neighbor, Carl and Annalise down the street, they have my sign in their yard, and I'm friends with them, and so they're voting for me. You should vote for me too. And hands me his flyer, like,
And it was
and it was like, oh, that's kind of nice that he came by. I didn't actually vote for him. I voted for another guy. And that wasn't because I thought he was crappy, but there was just reasons for voting for the other guy that I already knew about.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And so it was just kind of cool to have like someone actually. I mean, I don't see politicians go door to door that much anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I thought that was kind of cool. So the three of them kind of canvassed the neighborhood. They were gone. They were like disappeared like that. Something about mowing. Okay, see ya. But that was kind of cool. I mean,
It's like when you're done mowing,
vote for me.
Yeah, I can help sell this if you're looking for some action, son. Like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Really? You want to go to prison?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were, a little bit hesitant about, and this is actually kind of a funny story, but we're a little bit hesitant about dropping my ballots in the mail with all the mail stuff going on, and it just didn't feel like I could trust the post office. However, my daughter, she is registered in Orange County at her apartment. She's not registered here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she brought her ballot home, and she was voting on stuff that had to do with
Los Angeles,
Orange County and
Orange
Fullerton specifically. Mm. And so she had to drop hers in the mail, and I was kind of like, okay. But that was her first time ever voting, which was kind of cool. And so us being a little bit sketched out about the whole post office thing, we just drove it to the Placer County warehouse in Rockland and dropped it off there. And it was kind of funny because when we pulled up, there was a car at the drop box, and a lady was out of the car, and she's looking at the box, and she's got her ballot in the envelope in her hand.
Right.
And she's I had parked behind the box, and we all kind of got out of the car, and she's all, is this a real box?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I should hope so. It's on the official address.
Right.
It's this is the Placer County warehouse building. This is, where they tell you, and you can vote right there. You can actually walk in and vote, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But she was like, okay. And I said, we're going to be dropping ours in there, so we'll all do it together, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But,
well, that's good that at least she was aware, because we had the problem with the ballot harvesting, pseudo, almost, not quite real.
Yeah.
But go ahead and leave them here, and we'll be sure to turn them in for you.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that.
These ones were real.
Yeah.
And it's good that you could see the skepticism to double check, make sure,
exactly.
someone making sure their vote is going to get counted and not end up in a hopper somewhere accidental.
Yeah, I mean, that was the same box, I think, that you dropped yours.
It was
at.
ours. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like, well, I sure hope so. This is the address that came with my ballot. This was in the green form.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going to be dropping it. I hope it's the right one. And it's cemented to the ground. It's bolted down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you're right. It is. And she's like kind of moving it.
Yeah.
It was funny. I just thought it was, and sad at the same time. Like,
Right.
that's where we're at.
You shouldn't have to be concerned of whether or not someone's trying to dupe you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think that if you're not going to a polling place, there are more ways for that to happen, right?
right.
Put up a fake box that looks legit, and people will come drop it off.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if it looks legit enough, I don't know. Do
Yeah.
your homework before you drop your ballot off.
Yeah. And like you already pointed out, I think we've reached the mail threshold.
Yeah.
Where today, at least this morning, if not late last night, there were a number of there was some report for the post office basically saying the delays have reached a tipping point to where if you are someone that is going to mail your ballot in, or we're banking on mailing it in at this point with the delays and problems that have been happening with the post office, it's too late. If you need to make sure that your vote 100% is counted, go ahead and take it to a polling place or take it to an official drop box and do that way.
Was there a mail cutoff date for dropping it in the mail?
As long as it's, to my knowledge, as long as it's postmarked by the election
Tuesday,
day,
right?
It's a problem, or it's fine.
Okay.
The concern has started to wind around the drain of whether or not some parties we're going to start contesting, not California specifically, because of the way California just trends the way it does.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a concern for probably other states and other counties
where it's a little closer.
Where there are contests relative to, if it doesn't get in by this date, by the actual, if it's not in a voting center by the date of the election, then there were some initiatives where they were going to try and say, well, then that doesn't count anymore.
Well, that's kind of fucked up because
it is. That's why they're basically saying at this point, with the post office delays,
I would rather wait and have it. Okay, we're giving an extra 2 days or 3 days to make sure we have all the shit in and counted.
Right.
Right.
Well, the messaging
is not that.
Yeah. There's messaging today that was basically they should be able to call the election on the day, and if they're still counting your ballots after November 3rd, then that's bullshit. And the rest of us were like, it hasn't even been that way.
I mean, if you're going to do it that way, you're going to put in an early postmark time or day that it needs to be postmarked by before the election, however many days that would be, 4 or 5 days. And then if you don't get it in the mail by that day, now you're looking to drop it off somewhere or hand it off at a polling place.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's bullshit.
That's a reminder to make sure we tweet something about awareness to track your ballot and find polling locations, official Dropbox locations, and
I did track my ballot, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, it said it was accepted.
That's awesome.
So
I'm going to do mine just for...
Yeah. Well, I had forgotten all about it, and my wife's like, did you track your ballot? And I was like, no. And she goes, oh, yeah, go to this website. So I go, and you put all your info in, and then it tells you if it's been accepted.
Hangouts are blowing up somewhere.
It must be just you.
Oh, I don't know.
You're popular.
Maybe. It's my silky voice.
Well, I mean, there was something that we didn't even consider, other than Melanie, because she is not home at her apartment. We didn't even consider the mail to even be an option. It was like, oh, all this shit's going on. Like, I'm not even going to chance it. We're going to drop it off. So I didn't even look at any of the vote by mail.
And normally
deadlines.
we do right over at Mahaney, but with COVID and hours for multiple places the ease of use would have been Mahaney, obviously. Yeah. But with COVID and hours changing and relative, we just wanted to make sure we didn't want to have to, deal with in case there were other, because Mahaney's is walk-in. It's inside the library itself, not outside. So, why deal with that? Deal with hours. We know the official ballot box is right over there.
But when you're normally voting in a normal non-COVID pandemic, are you going in and voting in, or are you filling it out and dropping it off?
We fill out, and then Venus will do like the witness sign off, and Venus has dropped off. Okay. In this instance, even though we were doing it in a drop box, this election, I just felt more engaged, and I wanted to actually be
dropping it off.
I wanted to, I was just in the passenger seat. Venus was driving. I was done with work, but I'm like, let's both go over. Let's both turn. Yeah. I wanted to and I don't know where my sticker is. I should have been wearing it because I take pride in that. I'm like, fuck yes. But this one, I was like, I don't want to have you drop it off. I'll go.
Well, we kind of tried to make it, not that we have to, but engaging or fun for our kids too. I mean, our kids are older, but it was Melanie's first time voting ever. Yeah. So we kind of made it fun for her. We all kind of sat at the table and went over all the brochures and read about all the stuff together. And, so what do you think of that? We kind of did the same thing. But, engage them so that they understand, here's, what do you think about this? This is, you can vote whatever you want.
Yeah.
But here's the info. And let's talk about it. And it literally went through the entire ballot like that. It was really cool.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, we enjoyed that. It was fun. And like I said, we all went together, all four of us. We drove to the thing. We dropped off our Placer County ballots. Then we went right to the post office, and Melly dropped hers off. And
is she tracking hers? I can't remember if we already.
Yeah, I guess they already got it.
Did they? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Because we voted last week, I want to say
Did she have more things?
She had totally different stuff.
Did she? Yeah. I mean, obviously the county stuff would be different, but did she have more time needed to spend because there was just more shit going on for?
I don't think there was that much
County.
More stuff. One of the big things they were voting on in Fullerton specifically was they want to do like a 1.5% or 1.25% tax increase. Because the roads down there are awful.
Oh,
all the city Fullerton roads are just driving around. There's like pothole city or just very rough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's a big percentage hike, like a 1.25% or 1.5%, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a pretty good size hike. I don't know what the length of it was.
On gas.
No, I think it was like a sales tax.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, within the city.
Okay.
And so that they could help get the money to pay for
transportation stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you got to figure out if you want to do that. I mean, who knows how long you're going to be there? Maybe you vote for something you don't care about, really.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's up to you, though.
You're gonna fuck the residents down there, or realize you're buying in.
Yeah. It was funny because she had there was a candidate that was running for something, and she read her information, and she's like, why is this person even running? What a pile of shit.
Nice.
So it just kind of cracked me up. Like the stuff that they talked about was like didn't
just set her off.
Yeah, just like what? And so we were laughing.
Why are you here?
Yeah, we were laughing about that one. But yeah, totally different stuff down there, other than the proposition stuff and obviously the presidential race things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And their ballots were totally different. I mean, they had squares instead of circles. I mean, it was like a totally different look. Like, I don't know how they figure out what county figure out how they're going to lay their ballots out and what system they use.
It would be nice if they just
standardize across the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be, and I think the digital thing and the Dropbox, the absentees and the mail-ins, I think that's just where we need to go. I think it's faster. I think it's probably more secure at some point. When I look at what I hope is, won't happen here, but when you see it happening in the South for some of the early voting days that are in the East Coast that have opened up with, people having to stand in line for
crazy lines
to 12 hours.
Are they not mail voting?
Those people aren't. They're going into locally, punch.
So I guess California is a little bit different than maybe a lot of states in the sense that they decided early on, like, voting is going to be a shit show this year. We have a pandemic going on.
It's probably just getting overwritten by some of the stuff on the East Coast, because in the midterm stuff that happened in the spring before COVID hit, or maybe it was, Los Angeles specifically had a problem because they consolidated voting sites into like one big building that ended up having problems with the machines. Facilities wasn't big enough. The turnout was more than they expected, and people were. I mean, this was Los Angeles. It was like California was supposed to have it on lock, and no, we had our own fucking problems with.
I don't think I heard about that.
The super fancy voting machines that took a shit, that were like prototype, that were supposed to just be the answer, and the quickie, touch and make it go, and everything's going to work out fine. Long ass lines. I mean, we're not. We have our problems too, and I just think trying to somewhere there's a better medium of having success in participation, making it easier to vote, so that there's more participation. Like, how is that a bad idea? Getting people to stand in fucking line for 2 hours is just too much.
In my opinion, that just screams of not enough polling places.
Yeah.
And I mean, absolutely. It all comes down to money, but at the same time, like, you're talking about the American way of
it's the
life.
Fundamental civic duty.
Yeah.
Like, if there's something to spend money on, to make sure that is the easiest thing.
Yeah.
It's
that deserves
participation
the money.
in the democracy. Like,
yeah.
Take money from the fucking gold toilets or whatever, I don't care, and make sure that there are people paid to make sure that people can vote.
Yeah.
Or however that needs to happen. Electronically.
I mean, one less trip to Mar-a-Lago, maybe.
Yeah. One.
I mean, that'll fund all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Maybe. But yeah, so interesting stuff, and I think what I hope happened is, like, we generated some sort of interest for the kids going forward. Like,
I hope so too. But it was both of them when I sat them down to watch the 60 Minutes, and they've also, I think Piper also watched a portion of one of the debates. I don't remember which one, and I don't remember if it was the vice president or the presidentials. But she watched a portion. I try to not. It's very easy for me to be armchair quarterback.
Yeah.
But if the kids are in the room, and specifically for the 60 Minutes one, I kept my mouth shut and just let them.
That would be really difficult.
See, that we certainly had our discussion afterwards. But to try and see how engaged they were, or whether or not they were grasping political science, was interesting to see. I'm encouraged so far.
Yeah, I get it. Well, cool. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's everything right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really it feels like there's a ton of weight on this, and I haven't noticed that. I think the last time I felt like there was a ton of weight on the voting thing was in the 90s. Like, I remember when MTV had the Rock the Vote thing and all that big campaign.
Yeah.
That felt really big then.
Yeah.
And maybe just because every commercial break, I mean, MTV was something that was...
Yeah, that would be Clinton's 90s, right?
Yeah.
Clinton's 2 terms. Yeah.
So... but it just feels like there's a lot of weight going on in this particular...
And it was too. So yeah, the engagement part, like Data's, was it yesterday, Monday? He said something. We were talking about projected outlooks.
That was interesting.
And he opened the can. I'm like, oh fucking, here we go, dude. Are you ready to? Let's have chat. I got data. You want more statistics and fucking. Yeah. I'm like, well, let's go. Let's have a conversation. I'm interested in, he had stuff. I got kicked off more stuff, and now he's uncorked the foo. I'm like, yeah. But I actually took, because we were getting like you've acquired too much PTO. You've hit cap. You're not pulling in more.
Start cashing it out.
I think 2 week and a half ago, boss was like, this is your reminder that you've got PTO that's unspent, and most of the holidays are taken, so you can't use them there. So you may want to find some places to take some days off. And I went, okay, fine, whatever. And I took off the 3rd, election day.
Okay.
And I took off the 4th just in case
you were hungover.
I have to get totally shit-faced to forget what happens on the 3rd.
We should have taken off the 5th too, because maybe you would drink to forget on the 4th,
right? And
you would need the 5th to recover.
If they're still counting votes on the 4th, I may need to get hammered on the 5th.
Or maybe it's a result you don't like.
I'm done.
You just need an extra day to...
All right, I'll skip all the rest of the holidays and to use the PTO.
How about some unscheduled PTO? I think I'm just going to take the rest of the week off.
Yeah.
Okay,
bye. I'm sick. I can't.
I'm all can't face this world today.
I'm all done. Yeah. We're close to time. I have a funny story.
Okay, go for it.
So, we had talked about the morning show on TV Plus, Apple's TV Plus.
Yeah.
Amazing series.
The good stuff.
Very hard as far as...
Oh, yeah.
Very weighty.
Oh, yeah.
Like some of those situations...
There's so much positioning happening.
Very, very weighty.
Yeah.
Mature audience for sure.
Yeah.
And some of those episodes were like, yes, good show, very well done, amazing acting, amazing script, amazing cinematography. Everything was really good about it. 2 thumbs up for it. Did you watch C?
C?
So that is the SEE, as in like Vision.
Oh,
that's the one with Jason Momoa.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay. Also, really good.
Okay.
So the premise of that one,
all right,
is that there's
spoiler alert.
Yes. Well, this is a premise. It's just a premise.
Okay.
I won't spoil it because I don't know how it ends either. So the premise is that there's a virus that hits us relatively close to now, modern times.
Never happens.
Right. It kills off all but about 2 million of the global population.
That's pretty cool.
And the ones that are left are blind.
Oh, I think I remember seeing something about this and wanting to watch it, but they were aren't they having babies that are blind? But there's...
Well, hey, so you're the fucking spoiler now.
Okay.
So,
something like that, right? Okay.
So the premise of the movie is like, so it's like a survival movie because everything is like essentially wound back for humankind. So all but 2 million are dead. The 2 million that are left are blind. And the series takes place roughly 200 years after the event occurred. So there's at least 2 generations that are now disassociated from the actual impact. So overgrowth, most people can't explain. Everything is like a story, like a hand-down story as far as if history goes. Since they're blind, they don't know. They call concrete God bone because it defies, as far as feel and touch. It's smooth and really, really hard.
That's weird.
Right.
Okay.
So everything is mostly tribal, primal. The way that they design some of the sets and how blind people will get around, strings and like echolocation, absolutely amazing.
Now I have to look at it.
And so the crux of the story, though, as you pointed out already, is that there are a couple people, namely at least one that you know of, an adult, that has vision.
Mm-hmm.
Vision, as far as everyone else is concerned, is like heresy. Like since nobody has it, it's like it doesn't happen. Like no one knows what it is. It's like a fantasy. And if you talk about it, you're a heretic. There's at least one person who's an adult that can see, and his children that he has started to randomly propagate have vision as well. And so what you're doing is you're following the story of this guy who's making vision capable children and leaving them books and telling the parents who are blind that, you know, your children will be able to see.
Yeah, that's interesting because I would imagine as a blind society,
right,
but there's books that teach them a lot of things, but they can't read them.
Right. So he leaves them like ABC books, like when the children get to 17 or 12 seasons, give them what's in this chest. Essentially, they'll have to figure out that these ABC books, they'll learn to read on their own, and then when they reach 17, tell them to go in this location and find me. I'm blah, 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 blah.
Interesting.
So they're being...
Now I don't have to watch it.
Right. They're being chased by a kingdom-ish, like a queen that knows that the blind, or that the guy who can make vision children has left the queen. And she's jealous because she wants to rule with vision-seeing children. To help her rule the peoples. So the kids that you're following are all being chased by this army to bring back vision children, or the dude who can see, because the queen wants vision children.
Yeah.
Wants to control the vision.
Now I have to watch it.
The queen, here's where it gets good. The first time we see the queen, she's an asshole, like total asshole.
Yeah.
You kind of get her plot thing, where she's going, that she's an asshole, what her drive is to find the dude. So I think this is the first episode, might be the second one. We're watching this with Piper because it's kind of Game of Thrones-ish in like the gore and the weapons and stuff, but not too brutal. But there's some slicing and dicing and beheading and whatnot, but it's not quite as bad as Game of Thrones, but it's near that vein. Piper's okay with it. I'm okay with it. There's not gratuitous sex involved at this point. It's not.
Damn it.
It's okay. So we get these scenes with the queen. She gives out her plot devices and tells what she's doing. And then she's sitting in this chair, and she says, "Leave me. I wish to pray." And we're like, oh, here we go. She proceeds to put 2 fingers in her mouth.
Oh, no.
To get them fully lubricated. And we're like, what's this? And she then dives her fingers into her pants. And I don't know where the remote is. But
sorry, Piper.
Yeah. oh shit, here we go. And Piper's like, oh God, oh no. And Venus is like, oh God, shit. And I cannot find the fucking remote to at least pause it.
Which I'm not even sure that's the right way to go.
Piper is now like hoodie up, looking away. And I'm like, well, here we go. And because we can't pause it, now we're just letting it ride. And her prayer is literally just finger banging the shit out of herself as she then like, this is prayer.
Yeah.
And bean flicking to the end. Like, so we
note to self.
Oh yeah. If you, whoo boy.
Oh.
So it wasn't until, she was well into it and into the prayer where I find the remote and pause it and I wait,
well,
so this happens. It wasn't a shock to Piper, but
she doesn't know what real praying is.
yeah. Whew. Boy, wow. Embarrassed dad. But then we're laughing at it like, okay. We get another episode in, and we're all still watching, but now we're making jokes. We're family in joking about prayer, right?
Because that's what you call it now,
right? That's the thing now.
Are you gonna go pray?
Who's gonna pray? Well, fucking, I was praying. And I ain't. We get close with the jokes, but like the dad in me is like, fuck, can't say that. That's a bit too far.
Yeah.
Piper leaves the room, and then I just unload with a really mommy daddy prayer joke. Like, anyway, we're in episodes, but we're like leery of
what's coming.
Of if the queen like dives the fingers in the mouth to lube up the buttons, then we know, okay, are we ready? Because it's getting real. The next episode, she's with a bunch of people, her advisors and whatnot, and there's a couple people in the room, but she's standing, and she like turns around, the camera turns around, and she's like, I wish to pray, and like we're like, oh fuck, here we go, but she's not finger in the mouth, lubing up the fingers. Some lady walks in, and she grabs the back of the head of this lady, and she just throws the head in between her legs.
What the heck?
And she goes into prayer
goodness.
With her box chowing.
And this is on Apple TV?
This is on Apple TV, dude.
Oh my gosh.
And so then she proceeds to have an extended prayer with lady just eating her the fuck out.
Oh my God.
But Piper's not watching. She's like looking away like, okay, is it over yet? I'm like, oh no, she's still getting it done. She's still getting this.
There's still a lot of prayer.
There's
tons of prayer.
She is at the temple, and this one is going the long.
Oh, she's talking in tongues.
Yeah. And this lady, she is like, she's talking to herself like, and as this lady, you don't see the lady's head, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like torso up. So the camera's full
It's implied.
This is implied.
Yeah.
And as she's like rattling off the things that she's like talking about, and now we'll come to find you fucking as like the lady hits the buttons and shit and is getting tongue deep and wherever she has to get it. Like her voice is like clearly pausing and the eyes roll back in the head. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the good spot. Mommy's hitting it, isn't she? Like, there we go.
Was there any thanks for that, Tim Apple?
Yeah. Wow. Good Lord. I mean, this chick was selling it. Like that's a woman that's had the box eaten proper.
Plenty of prey.
Anyway, plenty of prey.
Yeah.
So now the running joke in the house is the prayer jokes.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You need to shut your door are you in mid prayer? Like the shower's running long in there, Piper. Are you praying? Like, whoa.
Nice.
Hell of an easy way to talk about masturbation in the house. Like, hey, everybody prays.
That would work at my house probably for sure.
To a different God, but everybody prays.
Oh, that's funny.
And there you go. Now we are at time. So if you need prayer time.
Yeah, let's break up for prayer time.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
All right. Well, we're going to head off and pray.
Yeah. Couple times.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for listening. If you feel like you want to support our show,
we have a Teespring.
Yeah. head to our website, saddadsclub.net, and there's a link to our SDCP gear store, and you can get shirts and mugs and all kinds of stuff there, and it just helps to help us with the show and whatever our costs are, which are not that much actually. But any little bit helps, and we would appreciate it. So
It'd be cool to see merch out in the wild because,
Oh, that would be cool.
it's funny.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
You'll also find those links in the YouTube descriptions that we upload roughly 2 days after the audio podcast goes live.
So show goes live late Wednesday night Pacific time. And then the YouTube version usually sometime in the afternoon on
Afternoon-ish Fridays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly. So if you get a chance, head by there, check it out. We would appreciate it. And beyond that, I don't have anything. Besides maybe vote,
Wash your hands.
wash your ass,
Wear the mask.
and return the cart.
Yeah, get your flu shot.
Get your flu shot.
I have my appointment on Friday.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, you can just go to Walmart and get it now.
Can you?
Yeah.
It's like a drive-up thing for us.
Yeah, I think
Anyway.
Shan has Kaiser, and so they went yesterday.
Did you?
No, I don't have Kaiser.
Did you get your flu shot?
No, not
Don't
yet.
forget to get your flu shot.
I never do, actually.
You're going to get it this year.
All right, I'll think about it.
All right.
All right, well, on that,
We'll catch you next week.
we'll see you next week.
Bye.